I don't know why it repeats like that, but hello.
Good evening. I didn't see myself there, but there you go.
Yeah,
I must be a vampire. I'm not.
I think you're in there somewhere, Bri. I'll figure it out later. I'm gonna share out, Bri, since you got a head start on everybody, or at least me. Can you start, please?
I can, yeah. So, good evening, everybody. I don't know. Just let me know when guests come in, Eric. But there you go.
Yeah,
right. From me, for my tech, I think we'll all have a bash at this one. But for me, England per person, per landmass, for me is the most haunted country in the world. I think there's more documented cases, regardless, worldwide. I could be wrong, but it's just my opinion. What about you, Wayne?
I've got a difference of opinion. I mean, the problem is I agree with you, Brian, that per mile, England and the UK predominantly would be quite possibly the most haunted country. But Czech Republic as well comes quite high up on the list of haunted countries. But I had an issue with it when I was thinking about it. I was looking at it and thinking, surely a country would be haunted depending on its history and how old it is, how long people have lived in those countries. So when you look at countries that technically are older than ours, as per civilization, you would think places like Greece, China, sort of Middle East areas and the African continent itself has had civilization on there a lot longer than ours. But the thing is then that you get a lot of people in those sort of countries may not necessarily like to talk about spirits or ghosts.
Correct.
I mean, I've just come back from Corfu, and you mention a ghost over there, they're not too keen on the idea.
This is what I'm saying. So it's how a spirit is accepted as well, in it.
Yes.
So what account have you got? Because I've got one. What's the oldest account of spirit, and what did they call them?
To be honest, I haven't really looked deep enough into the history side of spirit. I have heard of reports of someone similar to a caveman down at, is it the Wookey Caves?
Mm-hmm.
And there's been like the image of a Neanderthal man or a caveman has been seen walking about inside the cave network.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've caught one at near Worksop. Some caves there. Got evidence of it on camera. That was the Neanderthal era. Don't know what century that would be, but the oldest documented cases of spirit, which I will say in just a moment. Go on, Eric. We've got guests. Have we got guests?
Oh yeah, Sarah says hi and Nat says hi. Nicole Smith, William, hi Noreen.
Wow. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Right, the first account I've got is from Petra, Jordan, 1st century.
Wow.
And they're cliff caves. And they used to call them, well, they were Bedouin settlements. They used to call them Jinn, didn't they? DJIN.
Yeah.
So they're the first documented cases. So is that the most haunted location? No, because you've got to jump them from 1st century way up to say sort of 16th century before there's any more mentions type
Really?
of thing. So maybe the oldest, but they were thin on the ground, shall we say, or like you say, they just didn't like to talk about them.
Yeah.
Hey, William.
I mean,
It's true of a lot of evening, William. Which is true of a lot of continents and countries.
Yeah.
This is the problem. The only other place for me, besides England and Czech Republic, is Japan.
Yeah.
It's an old country. Their spirit is so much woven into their way of living. They've got names for them, and they revere them. So for me, is that possibly the most haunted country? And again, if you notice, it's a very heavily populated country, but it's also small in stature like us. Maybe the spirit's condensed because of that. And there's more because there's people. And people equate to what? Spirit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
I
quite
mean,
possible.
yeah, different countries will deal with things in a different way, and some places they just do not talk about it because they believe it's the negative side of things, the negative side of their religion.
Yeah.
And so they do their best not to talk about it. And in places like Greece, if somebody passes away, they're buried the following day. They don't hang around, and their superstitions then take over. Things like if a man passes away, he's buried the following day. His wife has to wear black, and the family have to wear black for 40 days and 40 nights.
Yeah.
And you're in trouble if you don't do it. You know, the locals will frown upon you if you don't abide by that tradition. Things like clothing has to, especially particularly babies' clothing, has to be in before sunset, because if when person dies, there are two spirits that come through town. One's good, one's bad. If a bad spirit sees the clothing of a baby hanging out on a washing line, it knows there's a new soul to take. So while he's cruising through from wherever the body has been buried originally, they come through the town and it's there. So there's loads of traditions there, but they do their best not to talk about it. You're expected to know about it.
Yeah.
And I only found out because my sister's partner's dad died, and straight away I had to go downstairs and help shut their bar. We had to put a sign up on the window, and then my sister was told she had to wear black for the next 40 days and 40 nights. And she's like, in the middle of summer, you are joking.
Exactly.
And she says, I'm not Greek Orthodox, so I will abide by wearing black for a little while, but not the full 40 days and not the full regalia that they're expecting me to wear.
Yeah.
And then obviously she's got two little boys who want to go to the beach. So we had to leave the town and go to towns further down the road so that she could take the boys to the beach and they could enjoy themselves. But you're not allowed to seem to be having fun. Because
exactly, which is totally opposite to other cultures.
Yeah, the local minister would read them the riot act if they were seen to be enjoying themselves. Yeah. So superstition also plays a big part in how a country relates to spirit and ghosts.
Correct.
And like you say, with Japan have their own spirits which they respect.
Yeah.
You know,
Even
you
have
don't
festivals.
disrespect a spirit in Japan, or you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, they even have festivals going, don't they?
Yeah.
The haunted forest. I don't know what they call it. I forgot the name of it.
Oh, the Suicide Forest.
Yeah.
Wailing Woods, is it? Translates to Wailing Woods, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. But they have festivals and they literally fence it off with that bunting stuff.
Yeah. And they tell you if you're
Um,
going to go in the woods, you've got to take a very long ball of string with you,
yeah.
so you don't
Um,
get coming out.
Yeah.
And in Nepal, totally opposite to what you've just said, they will actually leave the body sat sometimes in the place where they died, and it can stay there for years.
Yeah.
Well,
And they live with it. Go and see Grandpa, he's sat at room still. Oof. I bet that's
Yeah.
horrendous. But it's what they do.
Yeah.
now here's a rabbit hole. Have you guys ever seen that hillside where they bury the people hanging down the whole wall of the mountain or the hill or whatever it is? It's like a big wall.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
There's lots. Like I said, there's just so many traditions that different countries adopt.
Yeah.
But things change. I mean, if you this is another rabbit hole for you then.
Yeah.
If you think about Viking traditions, originally Vikings did cremations, the first type of cremations, i.e., they set them on fire in the boats.
Yeah.
We've all seen that depicted in films and whatever, but it was shortly after they came to Britain, they started to bury
Oh, wow.
the dead, just like we did.
Mm.
So Viking burials, it's weird, isn't it? Our people, different nations, different cultures.
Yeah.
start to adopt.
And things change over the years as well, because
Yeah.
originally ghosts appeared in Homer's Odyssey in ancient Greece. And then over the years, things would change. And they would always, Greeks themselves, when somebody had passed away, originally to ancient Greeks, they used to have annual, I don't know how you put it, parties, stroke, ceremonies, and it would be public. So you would honor the dead every year. And they claimed that if you didn't, then the deceased would come back to haunt the families. But over the years, from the 5th century, I think it's 5th century BC onwards, it died out simply because of modernization and civilization changed, the way of thinking changed, and slowly these traditions slowly started to disappear. And now you literally just get honor the dead one day, that's it, gone. And the person that's left is just the person that honors the deceased every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
We do with a lot of people. We did it on, I think it was this morning on Facebook, a dear friend of mine, Annalise Wire, who passed away a couple of years ago. You know, it was her birthday, but we still respected her by wishing her a happy heavenly birthday.
Yeah.
And then obviously the day carried on as normal, but we still took a moment to remember her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, I feel, is important. So most societies still go by those traditions. And again, it is all tradition, how we honor the deceased.
It is, until somebody comes up with an idea and everybody thinks, "Ooh, that's a bit convenient. We'll take that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to work that way, doesn't it?
So I mean, when you look
Everybody's
at it, each civilization has its own history of ghosts.
Yes.
And then when you look at the Christian Bible, the word ghost is mentioned in there something like 350 times in the Old and New Testament. So then you go into ancient Egypt. Spirits are mentioned in scriptures for ancient Egypt, and then you go down the road of Sumerians and things like that. Ghosts are mentioned all throughout history. They're all over the place. you know, whether you believe the Hebrew Bible or not, they're in there. So every culture has ghosts and every culture has a history. But it's how that history is passed on.
And we do in my family on birthdays and Christmas. Does not matter if they are no longer here or not.
Yeah.
Cool.
Me and Ellen have decided that when it comes to mine and Ellen's wedding, we're going to have 2 seats, a couple of seats free for family members that aren't there.
Yeah.
Just to honour the fact that we still remember them. We're going to have their seats free with their name on a tag, and we're going to put it on the seat itself.
There's a culture for that. There's a culture, and I can't remember what nationality it is. Oh, is it the Hamish? It could be. It might not. I could be wrong. But I know there is a culture somewhere that does that. They do leave a seat for the head of the family that's gone.
Yeah. In Catherine's family, we share a drink with our dead every year on their death date. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's difficult for me to remember the death dates in my family. There's too many of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's a vibration. It moves, William Sussy said.
Yeah, we're all fluid, aren't we? We're all fluid, but...
well, the thing that I look... Go ahead. Go ahead, Bray.
I think that's maybe why things haven't changed a lot in Nepal. I mean, you hit on that, and that's what made me mention this one, Wayne, because... what
happened to him?
He's back.
What happened?
We're playing swap around. The country hasn't changed much, has it? So
no.
Traditions haven't. There's no need to. It's a working system.
Yeah, places like Nepal have slightly moved with the times, but because they've got that heavy connection with the Buddhist monks, the traditions have stayed. And I think that's a brilliant thing. You know, you can't knock that, because they have literally kept a hold of their traditions and their ways of life. Although they've modernized, they still have mobile phones, they still have TVs, you know, but their traditions have stayed pretty much the same throughout.
Exactly. And they sit in a tin shack and they're watching TV by use of a battery.
Yeah.
But they have got a TV. I saw somebody flash up there. Was that Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly Drews.
Yeah, evening, Kelly.
4:16 a.m. Wow.
Ooh, you're up early.
Nice and early.
Very spooky. I don't know what that means.
So yeah, it does fascinate me. The more I read the brief for this one, I thought, ooh, what we're going to talk about here. We're going to get about 5 minutes with here, but yeah, it's and I was surprised. I was talking to Eric just before we started about how many words there is to describe spirit, because it's some of that you don't really think about. You take it for granted in your own language, don't you? But worldwide, there's a hell of a lot.
Yeah,
there's more than I wrote a few down, but and I've got about 12 or 13.
And there's probably a hell of a lot more.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just got the obvious ones.
I mean, even when you look just in the Christian Bible, you know, the Holy Spirit, ghost, the enlightened ones, which that then creates a whole new ball game. That's a different rabbit hole, because the enlightened ones are actually in reference to the Anunnaki, which then led to the Nephilim.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the Christian Bible, although it doesn't physically mention the Anunnaki, that's who the enlightened ones are. But it gets misinterpreted, and people automatically think spirit or ghosts.
Yeah.
So they go, the enlightened ones, that's another word for the ghosts as well. But it's not necessarily accurate.
What's that one, is it?
This is Catherine Murphy. My grandmother, mom's mom, died in $14.99 on the 4th of July. Luckily, every year alcohol is on sale for that day.
Yeah.
Very interesting chat tonight. Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah. Always, isn't it? It's always. We always have good chat.
Well, and then what I was going to say earlier is by apparently it says that the United Kingdom, because of the land mass, the way it is supposedly undisputably the most haunted place in the world.
Is what?
The most undisputably the most haunted place in the world.
In your opinion, is?
Yeah, whatever. Whoever wrote it, you know.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on which avenue you look down, because some avenues you look down them and they say such and such a places. And earlier on, when I had a look, there was the claim that both UK and the Czech Republic are the most haunted places in the world.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, it's down to the history of the place,
Yeah.
and the severity of the hauntings as well, because you hear a lot about places like Gettysburg. Now, Gettysburg is haunted by an entire battalion of soldiers.
Yep.
Whereas most places we know of are haunted by one or two ghosts, but not an entire brigade of troops.
Yeah, but there's a whole nation that we tend to dismiss where America's concerned, and that's no disrespect to
Americans.
people that's living in America at the moment. But if you talk about natives, they've got a history going back a long, long way. And their relationship with spirit is completely different to modern day Americans, shall we say. Modern day Americans adopt a European attitude.
Yeah.
Native Americans, it's woven into their traditions again.
And again, with their history.
Like Japanese.
But we wouldn't have heard anything about the Native American side of things if it hadn't have been for the discovery of America.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
And that's what, 1492?
Yeah.
With Christopher Columbus. So it wasn't until there was dialogue between the Europeans that discovered America and the ancient, the native Indians, that there would be this breakthrough and a similarity between cultures regards to spirits.
Yeah.
And of course, theirs, they look at things like shapeshifters and things like that, and their spirit guides. So they've got a whole new difference there. And the weird part of it is, when we look at it in paganism, we had pretty much the same setup as what the Native American Indians did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All those miles apart, we had a similar way of being regards to spirit animals and spirit guides, and all of that is relatively identical to Native American Indians.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back, Aztecs and beyond, they were building pyramids at the same time as Egyptians were. They had the same ideas of burial rituals and spirit, as you say. Some of their revered, we call them aliens a lot today, ancient aliens.
Yeah.
Were they? That is quite possible for me. Some of them border on cryptid status. What's the dog man? What's the big dog man in Egyptian culture? He's supposed to guard the gates, isn't he? Oh, I can't remember his name. Anubis, is it? Anubis?
Yeah.
Yep.
And in South American, I can't pronounce his name. It begins with a Q. But it looks very, very similar. Very, very similar.
That has always been the biggest issue, and that's what me, Mark, and Josh normally sort of discuss things, where you've got the fact that the ancient Egyptians, the Aztecs, and the Peruvians, and all of those, when you look at the way they've built their pyramids, they're all in related to the stars, and they're all built the same similar style and fashion.
Yeah, and it was discovered while 50s that. When they were digging out and keep digging out and digging out, because they went obviously initially with digging of pyramids and one thing or another, they're looking for burial chambers. They're looking for loot, obviously. So side chambers got left for a long, long time, and it weren't until 50s that discovery started to emerge, where there were avenues leading out into constellations, and they found, as you rightly said, that America and Egypt were pointing towards these same constellations at a time when there was no worldly travel. So how that happened, I don't know. It just,
I don't know either.
it amazes me.
Like-
And I know we've gone down a rabbit hole, but there you go.
Hey, whatever. Well, like you were saying, I mean, there's a pyramid here. There's a pyramid in England somewhere, Scotland, I guess, somewhere.
Yeah, there's
all
pyramids
over.
all over. There's one in Yugoslavia, isn't there, that they've recently
I think so,
discovered?
yeah.
One in Romania. There's a
yeah.
couple in Siberia. There's a couple off
Yeah.
the coast of Japan.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's one off the coast of California.
Yeah.
And they're claiming that there is a couple down in Antarctica. Now, the problem with the Antarctic ones is that could be down to direction of the wind hitting the mountainside and creating what would appear to be the side of a pyramid because of the angle of the wind. And then when the winds change direction, it's then created the panel or the side of another side of that pyramid going in the opposite way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
people have just been looking on Google, they've looked at it and gone, oh, doesn't that look like a pyramid?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's been with
Without-
pyramids.
Cool. I mean, but I
Without,
think the pyramid had to be made out of stone,
without
Yeah.
actual boots on the ground and going to those coordinates and actually looking at that physically,
Yeah.
it's all going to be skeptical right from the word go, because
Yeah.
all you've got is a picture from space zoomed in of what could be a pyramid.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
So
Have you got any comments or questions, Eric?
No questions, just some weird comments about insane investigation on Friday. Catherine Murphy has, and then Columbus. And then she said, whatever that word meant, and then she said misspelled that 100% wrong, but I understand.
I mean,
Yeah.
Columbus himself, it was weird because before the show, I was watching a documentary about Atlantis and the possible discoveries of where Atlantis could have been. And they were actually going on about the history of the Spanish finding specific places. And they actually raised the point of the Canary Islands and the fact that they found mummified remains of a person that was mummified in exactly the same way as the Egyptians.
Yeah.
And they said it actually predated the Spanish arrival in the Canary Islands. So it was then led to believe that they were actually in sort of market trading with the Egyptians and the Romans.
Yeah.
And then when the Spanish arrived at the Canary Islands, they noticed that the original inhabitants of the island had all either moved off elsewhere or died.
Mhm.
But when they looked in the caves where they buried their people, they found these mummified remains.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's
And they were done
awful.
exactly the same way as the Egyptians.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if there were land bridges, far later than previously thought. I mean, if you think about what you just mentioned with Atlantis, every single account seems to agree that Atlantis became submerged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a few cases around the world where we're finding statues and remains and columns that would have been above water far later, as I said, than suggested.
Well, the English Channel was connected to mainland Europe at one time.
It was, and they find more mammoth bones and whatever in Channel than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Which suggests that they were on an exodus when it flooded.
Wow.
Hence the film Ice Age.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's Ice Age 2, isn't it? The Migration or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But
So-
they're also saying that they found like Viking proof, before Columbus in America, before even Columbus was there.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's happening all around the world, but again, I do believe that archaeology has a fantastic place.
Mhm.
I think it's misrepresented though.
Yeah.
This is a problem. And early archaeology was more about treasure hunting than actual archaeology. You know, the reason for things. It got romanticized a lot, didn't it? I.e., Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So,
But that's the thing. When you look into things like the archaeology and geography of things, there is a rumor. I say a rumor, a theory gone out there that at one point people from China and Mongolia actually entered the United States or Americas via Russia and the land bridge between Russia and Alaska. And then they came down south and they dispersed and they settled and became what would now be known as the Native American Indians.
Wow.
And then years later, along comes Christopher Columbus or the Vikings first, sorry. The Vikings came along and discovered the North Americas. But because it wasn't documented, Christopher Columbus gets that accolade instead.
Yeah, exactly, precisely.
So
yeah, I think I read something about Vikings were found in a part of America. Which previously they got no clue they'd reached.
Mhm.
So again, DNA then gets mixed because any kind of population more than 30, shall we say, which is a perfect example of a Viking-sized ship, you're going to get a mix of DNA, obviously, which is where the looting and pillaging and one thing and another comes from. Because that's the first thing they want to do, is procreate. But yeah, I mean, the theory of us being related to these gods from ancient times, from Egypt and South America, we're an experiment. You know, it's quite possible. So again, bringing it full circle, what is spirit? And it leads for me, when you look at everything like that, the different reasons and types of spirit. A lot of people think of modern explorers and investigators. Ask them what a poltergeist is, and for some reason it's got changed. The meaning of poltergeist has been changed. It's like the true meaning of poltergeist is just a Germanic phrase meaning rumbling spirit. But
noisy ghost.
Yeah, but to ask a lot of these people that's just started up ghost hunting, what's a poltergeist? Oh, it's an evil spirit.
Yeah. It really does get on my wit when people say, "Oh, you know, it's a nasty ghost. It's a demon. It doesn't want you there." So
oh my God! Yeah, you just open a whole other can of worms.
I turn around to people and I say, "Look, have you ever thought of the possibility that it could be a spirit that is frustrated? It doesn't want to be there, and it doesn't know why it's there, and can't seem to find a way to move on." So it's getting frustrated. But what it's trying to do is get your attention so that it can tell you it doesn't want to be there, but it doesn't know how to.
Yeah.
Hence the term noisy spirit.
Just a dog, you know, they hear a growl. And it's like, well, it's probably a dog spirit letting you know it's there, you know?
Well, the thing is, it's like somebody it's like a human being learning to talk. When a baby is born, it just mumbles, blurbs, and grumbles. It just makes noises. And then over the years, it learns how to speak. Spirit could be there's no reason why a spirit could be exactly the same. It could have, say, just passed over, and it's learning how to use its energy to communicate.
Yep.
So to start off with, it could just be a bunch of growls, groans, and murmurs. But after a while, with the energy given and it learning how to communicate a little bit more, it could then, expand on it and be able to do different things. And I think at the moment, a poltergeist is just a frustrated spirit that's just like, look, I'm here, please help me. And because no one's helping it, it's going, well, sod you then, and it will throw something.
Yep.
Yeah, from the last show that me and Nettie did, I made a little bit of an observation, shall we say?
Mhm.
But how true it is, but it seems to ring true, and that is when you go look at a poltergeist accounts, which, as we say, it's a particular spirit that's learned the ability to communicate, to get its message across. Like, I don't want to be here, and I don't want you here. So it's throwing things about. It's learnt the ability to move objects.
Yeah.
They seem to be powerful energies, but just like an high-powered torch, for example, I'll use this analogy. An high-powered torch doesn't hold its charge very long.
No.
It's a burst of energy and it dies. Well, poltergeist activity seems to be short-lived.
Mhm.
Whereas a quite mild, unobtrusive spirit seems to linger for years and years and years. And if you look at the accounts, just an observation, like I said, all the accounts that are found of poltergeist activity seem to last no more than 3 or 4 years. And then they've gone. There's no more sightings, no more interaction. They just seem to be fleeting.
Yeah. We have
That's an observation I've made.
we have a case in Colchester, the Red Lion Hotel, quite well known for having a grey lady, a boy, and a monk floating around inside the hotel. And I've investigated there a dozen times, and we have different stuff happening each time. But the reports that we get from there, there'll be numerous reports for a while, and then nothing. And then the manager or the owner of the hotel decides, do you know what? I think a new lick of paint will be nice. So the painters and decorators come in, they redecorate the place, and all hell breaks loose.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even while the decorators were there, they've had cans of paint go missing, and CCTV cameras have not picked anybody on the cameras taking these tins. No one's been seen walking out with them. They've just vanished. And then images of the grey lady, the monk, and the little boy had been seen for about 6 months afterwards.
Yeah.
And it always seems to be 6 months, no longer, roughly 6 months, and then they slowly start to die out again. And then something else will happen and it'll all kick off.
Exactly. But as I say, that's something that they're not violent. They're not these bursts of energy spirit.
No.
These bursts of energy spirit, these really angry ones, don't seem to live a great length of time.
No.
As you said, the accounts that you've just mentioned are intermediary. They're not quite quiet, but they're not nasty either. So
no, they're sort of like the hello, look at me, I'm here, and then disappear.
Exactly. So they've used a certain amount of energy, and then they lie low to recharge. I suppose recharge the batteries.
Yep.
And wait for an interaction, something that gives them that muster to be able to do something, i.e., lick a paint. I find it fascinating that these are but they're all correlated and they all seem to work out as fact. It's all about research at the end of the day, and the more research we do, the more we'll find out whether these things are true. And the one thing that we will gain from that is vibration, energy, frequency. Everything works on a frequency.
Yep.
If we can crack that, we'll be able to communicate.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is down to methodology and technology.
Yeah.
As an investigator, with science and technology sort of getting more and more advanced, we are going to get to that point where we will have the technology that will enable us to realize that something is there, and we'll be able to find out where it is, what it's composed of, and then probably then look at the different answers that we're going to get as to why they're here.
That's my
Yeah.
job.
And
Yeah.
like we say, if it's transdimensional, i.e., different dimensions, and we're actually being caught between a portal between our dimension and a different dimension. Only we've misinterpreted it all these years that they're ghosts, and they've done the same thing on their side. Once we've got that technology there and we've understood it a lot more, we'd be going, oh, hang on a minute. We've been thinking all this time they're ghosts when they're not. They're just a different version of us from a different place.
Anything.
I've always said one day I'll accidentally open a portal. So,
well, there's plenty of videos on TikTok where people are claiming they've already done that.
Well, exactly. But
with these magnets and marbles going around in circles, and the marbles going so fast that apparently this portal opens up.
it's going to take
TikTok. It's because it's TikTok. You've got to believe it.
Yeah. Can you imagine kids today rediscovering a radio, a homemade radio, bit of copper wire, quartz crystal, and a jam jar?
Kids,
and they can hear voices. They're going, it's magic.
Kids discovering an original radio, that'd be like, you might as well just ask a kid to discover a cassette and tell us what it's all about.
Oh, yeah. Or use the dial-up phone. I've seen that experiment. It's funny. That.
They'd be like, I don't know, what does it do?
Yeah. You ever seen those
questions, Eric? We got any questions?
No, not really. But have you ever seen those one videos where a person hands their child a rotary phone and goes, "How does this work?" She's like, "I don't know."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Come on, seriously.
But that's an issue where technology has advanced at such a speed that nobody has taught the next generation down on how to use the previous technology or earlier examples of that technology. And we sit there and we go, oh, I've just gone out and brought this vinyl record. I've been looking for this for years. And the kids look at it, is what the hell is that?
William.
Is that a serving tray or something? Do you put chips on it or whatever? And you're like, well, no, it's a record. And they go, what's that? They go, well, it's an earlier version of a CD. Well, what's a CD?
Yeah, exactly.
My kids only just remember what a CD is because they're all digital downloads.
Yeah. Ask them to build a crystal set.
Nathan probably would know how to build one of those. He'd probably look at one of them, look at the instructions and go, oh, I'll have a go with that.
I've got encyclopedias here that it's got a section in each one. It's a volume, 10 volumes. And in each section, each book, it's got things to make and do. And it's one in there that literally shows you how to make a crystal set.
Oh,
it's
cool. Send it to me.
Yeah. They're fantastic books, Eric. If you get over here, like I've said, I'll show you.
Yeah, that'd be great. William, I'm going to cough this whole time now. William, with respect, there's always someone out there that thinks there's more, that they know more than you do. I get it all the time online. It's true.
It is true. The problem is people today are so opinionated. I have been guilty of it myself in the past, thinking I do know things, and I actually, no, I think I know it. So now I've got used to saying, look, it's only my opinion. I think this is true, but don't take my word for it, because it's amazing how opinionated we get.
Oh, I've learned that real fast. We're trying to argue with somebody, like, don't believe me, do your own research and go out there and figure it out for yourself.
That's what I do. If I'm unsure of anything, I research it. That's what I've always done.
The problem comes when you're doing your research in a book of fiction.
Yeah.
People are really they really are. They're looking at things up in a book of fiction. You think, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they think it's real. No, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, in a sense, that's like saying something and then replying back saying, well, I've just looked in the Bible and it says this.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just opened the Bible to look into it when really you could just be opening up a book of Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales, to be honest.
Exactly.
Because, and the amount of times when I've gone on TikTok and there'd be a live feed where someone says to me, prove God doesn't exist. And my simple answer is, prove he does.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, exactly.
if you can't prove he doesn't exist, you can't prove he does exist. It's got to go both ways.
Yep.
But
And it's the same when people say, I don't believe in ghosts. If they're religious and they're strictly religious, then, and they say they don't believe in ghosts, that makes them a hypocrite.
Yep.
In the eyes of the religion, they are hypocrites because the Bible says about spirits and ghosts.
Yep.
So you can believe in God, but if you believe in God as a devout Christian, if you believe in God, you've got to believe in ghosts. But the other way round, you can believe in ghosts, but not necessarily in God.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that becomes my argument when you get these deeply religious people say, I don't believe in ghosts, but I do believe in God. And I've had that with my youngest daughter. The school were teaching her about Christianity, and she turned around, she come home one day and she said, oh, I believe Jesus will help us out. I said, where did you hear about Jesus? The whole school have been teaching us about it. I believe in God, blah, blah, blah. So I said, well, do you believe in ghosts? And she went, no. I said, right, ignore what they're telling you at school then, please.
Yeah.
I said, let them teach you about Christianity, but then let them teach you about Islam, about Buddhism, Hinduism, all the other religions that are out there that you can possibly think of before you make your mind up whether you believe in one thing or not.
Yeah.
And that's been my rhetoric to everything. Yeah. You listen to every possible explanation first before you make your mind up.
And in all
religions.
religions.
Surprising to me because here in America, I don't know if they still do it or not, but they stopped teaching religion in school.
Yeah, they have.
Because people were so upset about it that they said, all right, well, we're not going to teach it.
It depends on where you are, because some places will still teach religious education.
Yeah,
but
mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's Christian or Catholic, then yeah. But
I mean, our school, we've got a high. There's a higher number of Muslims in the school, so they made the point first off by teaching about Islam and about the faith, but then straight after that they went on to Christianity and Buddhism.
Yeah.
So they covered all aspects. They didn't just single out one particular religion and went, right, that's what you're learning about, trying to indoctrinate them into that particular religion. They covered everything. So you couldn't get singled out. And I was quite pleased that the school had done that, but other schools don't.
Yeah.
They'll just say, this is our religion, this is our way of life, and that's it. And the kids probably sitting there going, what?
Yeah, exactly. But the thing I've noticed, like you said, which surprises me, why there is such a difference of opinion, because in all religions there's mention of Holy Spirit. So I don't get why they dismiss spirit. Because it's there.
I like how William Southey does this.
Well,
he goes, opinionated comment. Thing is science, and some ghost hunters want everything handed to them on a plate. Some can go to extraordinary lengths to get what they want, like the truth. Few of them would know what the truth is or know what to do with it if they found it. That's true.
Yeah, I think for any budding investigator, unless you've got actual gifts, psychic medium gifts, you have to learn to be intuitive.
Oh, it's going to switch again. There we go.
You've got to learn to be intuitive, because without that,
because there,
don't bother. Just sit and watch telly. Yeah. For me, and I know it's an opinion again, but it makes more sense to just enjoy the subject by being a viewer rather than an investigator.
Yeah.
For me, you really need to have some sort of ability. If you haven't got an ability, learn it. Being intuitive.
Yeah.
There's certain do's and don'ts, isn't there, really? They should be taught, for me, like every other subject.
Yeah, the problem is when you, I mean, there are these the spiritualist churches that you can go to if you feel you've got that in you, then you would look at it that way. But if you were to go to sort of like a mainstream thing, you're going to go down the route of like a Harry Potter style system, aren't you? Where you're going to have a place where en masse people will go to learn spiritualism, learn how they can use this gift. And I've got partly a gift. I can sense when something is there, but I can't tell you whether it's male or female. I know whether it's a good or a bad negative, a good or a bad energy, but that's it. I then have to use what I know equipment wise or test wise to try and get further answers.
Yeah.
And Ellen's the same. She's quite sensitive, and she's picking. We'll go to locations and she'll pick up things, even though we've never been there before, and all of a sudden come out with someone's name.
Yeah.
And we'd later find out that person was there, and we'd be like, "No, how did you know that?" I don't. It was just what came through.
This is why I seem to be. I probably come across a little bit blasé because I have got gifts, and I've had them since I was 9 years old. The difference is that when I walk into somewhere, if there's no happening, I'm walking straight back out, more or less. I've lost interest before I've started because I don't see the point. But that's me. That's just the way I've always done it. And that's why I don't do these paid venues, because to me, it's not going to happen. If I can get in that place on my own, I'll suss it in 5 minutes. And if there's going to be activity, I'll stay. If there isn't, I'm off. So I've wasted money if I pay for somewhere. That's
I like Viv's comment. I'll tell Fred when I see him in the week.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. Here we go again.
We got Fred's birthday coming up soon, so
yeah, I've not done myself a favour though, really, have I? Because I got rid of my little bit of a goatee and I've just got my tash.
Yeah. But yeah, we've gone round full circle and then back and then some, haven't we?
Yeah, we really have.
Yeah.
It's all good. It don't matter, does it?
But again, like William said, you stick to what you know, and then you research what you don't know.
Precisely. And through doing these podcasts, because I'm not naturally a podcaster, as anybody can tell, but I've got a ream now, a ream and notes, so revisit any subject.
Or you can just do what I do and just go, right, okay, a bit late to tell me the subject because I can't do any research, but I'll just go with what I know.
Yeah. The handy thing about this format is there's a few of us, so we can bounce off each other.
Yeah.
And if we get stuck, we'll just change subject.
Well, it's finally time to do the Jar of Doom.
Oh.
So who wants to pick tonight?
Me, I've never done one. I've never done one.
Cool. Eric, I've just realised that's not the Jar of Doom. That's the Tin of the Punisher.
Yeah, I know. Wow, it's closest to the Jar of Doom as I can get. So, tell me when to stop, Brian.
Stop.
All right. 1 or 2?
2.
Copycats in the paranormal.
Ooh.
The boy, is there a few of those?
There is. But we won't go into names.
Yeah, not tonight. That's for next week for Vivian and the group that she's with.
No, good luck on that one, Viv.
Black dinner, karma.
She's got Annette's got a book of written info.
Yeah.
there should be a podcast when Fred met the other
Right,
Fred.
we'll have
Your side version.
Right, we'll have to get you to come down to meet me and Fred in November. We're in London doing something. We'll get you to come down and we'll stand just side by side to each other and go, hang on,
Get me an empty
comparison.
frame. Get me an
London
empty
Fred to
frame.
Yorkshire Fred.
Yorkshire Fred.
Wayne, get me just a wooden frame and I'll stand in it like that.
The demonologist, Bry.
But if anybody didn't see my post, we were coming down in August of next year. Wow.
I've got a screaming banshee in my hallway.
I guess so.
Well, that's another name. So just to finish off, let's see. I'll give you a few names, and then if you two can add to the list. These are all names of spirit: poltergeist, shade, spook, sprite, spectre, wraith. Not even demon, ghoul, and then some fanciful ones include banshee, haunt, kelpie, which I didn't think was classed as a spirit, but apparently it is. I can't even read that one. Can't even read my own writing. Phantasm, revenant, visitor, zombie, and phantom. Any more?
Well, like I said earlier, for Scotland, it'd be bogle is the old term for ghost or spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've also got spook, shade, haunt, kelpie.
Yeah, I've mentioned them.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you say kelpie, but
yeah.
You know, I mean,
Gin.
you go down the road, yeah, like the gin as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And I mentioned it as well, a banshee.
Yeah, I've mentioned that one.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered most of them.
Yeah.
The one I couldn't read is Mains. Never heard that one.
Who?
Yeah.
A spirit, a type of brand? No. Well, it could be.
Mains.
Manes, Mains. Don't know what it would
Mains,
say.
yeah.
But then you've also got the ones that I couldn't pronounce, so I didn't even try writing them down. And they're all Japanese terms, as I said, because they are part of the culture. They actually have names for spirits, particular types of spirits in their own language.
I didn't know there was different types of gin. I like gin, especially. Oh.
I mean, when you go,
never mind, now I get it.
I found 27 names, synonyms of ghosts and antonyms of ghosts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, you got the ones that we've already called out: the demon, devil, phantom, shadow, soul, spectre, vampire. Why they've categorized vampire as a ghost, I don't know.
Yeah.
We could do it A to Z.
And vision, but then you go down to the apparition, appearance, banshee, demon, haunt, kelpie, mains, phantasm, poltergeist, revenant, shade, spook, visitor, wraith, and then zombie again. What's that got to do with the ghost? But then it goes down to quite weird ones, like an eidolon.
Yeah.
EIDOLON. An ethereal being and an incorporeal being.
Incorporeal? Yeah.
Yes.
And then for some unknown reason, an antonym was a living being. How a living being could be a ghost, I don't know.
Well, I think that's translated from meaning of solid, which will be the vampire and the zombie would be in that because they're classed as the living dead.
Yeah.
So they'd be in that category.
Yeah.
But speaking of vampire, that is one that the jury's out because there's a lot of people think that they're myth, but there's so many cases, as I covered on a show that we did, where they're not. They're not the cases of people that's reputed to have freed themselves from the grave and haunted and terrorized villages and towns. Hence the reason why
Yeah.
they put a cage around they decapitate them and put a stone in their mouth. I mean, it's not something that you do to somebody that you don't believe is walking at night, would it? You know what I mean? So there's lots of cases as well. Lots of cases. More than I actually thought.
Yeah. When you look into it, I mean, there is a section that you can look at, which is about like a list of ghosts, but you can actually specify it by ghosts by culture.
Mhm.
So you can look at African folklore, Asian folklore, and so on and so forth. But then you can go ghosts by culture, and you can get a subcategory which gives you different areas. And when you go into the Chinese ghosts by culture, it explains about the history of the Chinese belief of spirit and where that belief came from. And weirdly enough, it came from places like Korea, Japan, and Vietnam.
Yeah.
So when you look into them categories, it shows you the history of their spirits and the spiritual belief then, which was a Gwisin. So a Gwisin is a Korean ghost.
Yeah.
And they're considered similar to the Yogo, which is another Korean spirit, or Mamul, spelled Mamul. And unlike a Dokebi, Gwisin are people who have died.
Yeah, which I was just going to say, I was trying to get it at you, to be honest. It's like our equivalent of what we imagine a zombie to be.
Yeah.
They literally thought they were roaming, physically roaming, which is zombie-like, living dead.
Well, we are past an hour right now. So do we want to do Wednesday? We have me. Well, no, Wednesday we're not doing a show. We're taking the day off. Sorry. I should have said that to begin with. Thursday, we have the Weird Room with me, Tim, and Dan. Don't know what we're doing yet. Friday, you guys are doing what?
Oh, that's a good question. You'll have to ask Nettie if she's still watching. I can never remember. But it'll be good, and it'll be a good one. It always is.
But that's what's the name of the group again? Friday Frighteners?
Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday. I keep saying the other one. I don't know why.
Exactly. That's gone. It's gone, unfortunately.
And then Annette's doing Sunday again?
Yes. Shadows and Lights.
Okay. And then Monday, you guys going to be on?
Indeed. We are going to be back on Monday.
Okay.
Now, by then I'd have, apart from the elf that's just coming behind me. It's a unicorn.
It's so cute.
It was just me. I literally just before the weekend got back from holiday and I had to spend 48 hours being awake. And of course, we were getting something sorted to get the house done and catch up with all the washing and everything else. And last night I was just like, I was hanging. And I'm like, seriously? And then Mark said to me, it's bank holiday. We're all out doing things. Other people are out doing things. You know, we think you need to get an early night. Yeah. So we had to, we took that option. But I must have needed it because I didn't wake up till 10:30 this morning.
Wow.
I'm never up that late. So I'm just like out like a light. But some good things have come from having a break because I've been able to write more of my latest book, and I wrote another story while I was on my way over to Greece on the flight. So for a new book project. So it's all full steam ahead now, and everything's back to the way it should be.
So do I have to wait for that one to come out too then?
Well, the one that I wrote on the way over to Corfu is going to be part of a very small short stories. So there's going to be about 20, maybe more in the book. So it's going to literally be a compendium of short ghost stories. And these ghost stories are going to be like 3 or 4 pages long, and that's it.
was still pissed on Monday from the weekend. Oh, I got to find out more about that.
I tried that on my 50th birthday party, and it never happened. I've forgotten it. I drank, but I didn't get drunk. So
Yeah. Well, we will say goodnight to everybody.
Yeah, Nettie put up possessions and exorcisms.
I gotta find it now.
That's what we'll be doing.
that'll be what you're doing on
Yeah.
Friday.
Why isn't that?
Yeah.
Yep, possessions and exorcism. Her son's wedding. All right. Well, everybody have a good night. Thank you for joining us.
Goodbye, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers, everybody. Have a good one. And we'll catch you on the side.